Yes, guys, we're finally here. Apologies, completely my fault. I was feeling a bit rough after I finished that show at 8 o'clock and just needed to get myself together a little bit. But we are here for the first episode of The Big Debate, live on patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. And if you're watching on youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation a week later, you can get involved in the debate live every Monday if you sign up for the price of coffee per month, and you can get involved in the debate every week as we put the world to rights. Some subjects which will be coming up over the next couple of weeks is how to make a cup of tea, the royal family, cyclists, and more. But today we are talking VAR. Should it be scrapped or should they keep going with it? And was the world better with or without social media? So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good old argument. And me and Reese will basically take a side each and we'll kind of go from there. Really looking forward to the royal family one because I don't think either one of us wants to defend that lot. But we thought it was inappropriate to do it quite at the first episode, so we're going to leave it.
No comment today.
We're going to leave it. We're going to leave it for like about a month. So basically, these shows, they're live on Patreon. You can get involved, ask questions, get involved, give your opinion, all the rest of it, and then they'll be released on the main channel like a week later to try and get people to, to sign up and stuff. It was Will Melush's idea, the whole concept of the show, and they're putting it out a week later. So if you don't like it, blame him, basically. But no, shout out to Will for coming up with the idea. He said he felt that it suited mine and Reese's dynamic as well, which was always nice to hear because me and Reese get on well. And we were just kind of looking for a show. Obviously, we'd done the conspiracy theories one together, which went quite well, but we wanted to move away from that a little bit. Then we've done the serial killer ones, which I think are good, but you've got to like really do like a shitload of research for them. And it's quite time consuming when you're doing other stuff, and we've both got kids and whatever. So we were looking for the right kind of fit and show, and I think this will be it. I hope that this is it. We obviously did the internet idiots thing, and that was it was quite fun, I think, for us. But I don't know if it hit home for the people or not. Like it's a weird one because
it's just too much chatting about the internet one day.
Yeah, and I think also I think it's like a certain age demographic and stuff which people like find that interesting, and maybe like our demographic is like more like us at our age, which is not necessarily interested in like dickheads on the internet and stuff. So yes. Anyway, by the way, I am joined as ever by the man of the moment, serial killer host, conspiracy theories host, co-host, Patreon co-host, we'll call him, Mr. Reese Pycroft. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, as always. Glad to be back. Something new.
Indeed, try something different. Some of you will have just joined me for a live show on the main channel as we discussed Cardiff City sacking their manager, which was quite an interesting one. Had a good old crowd on there. So yeah, that was interesting. But
I did look, mate. I'll show you I got an audience and lots of interaction on there.
Yeah, there was loads of comments. Very difficult to but I think people don't realize as well, like how difficult it is to do a show on your own, because you're effectively just talking to yourself, and like it's really tricky. Like and
well, you've got no feedback. You don't know what people are thinking.
But it's not like if if you're in like a radio studio, you've got like a producer talking to you in your ears, haven't you? At least, so like you've got like that kind of feedback from it and whatever. But it is tricky. But I remember I'm used to it now. But it's tricky. It's tricky. But we've already got like comments coming in about VAR. So VAR is going to be a real interesting one, which is why we're going to start with social media. Because I had, funny enough, I got a show coming out tomorrow on the main channel with stand-up comedian and TV and radio host Leroy Brito. It's a really good episode, really fun episode. We had a good chat about like stand-up comedy and the ins and outs of live shows and stuff. And one of the things which I mentioned during the show is like I've basically had like a whole life. I grew up, and you did, like without social media.
Yeah.
So like I look at like my kids and stuff now, they're all, 3 teenage boys. I look at it and they're just constantly like TikTok and Instagram and all the rest of it. But like, because I grew up without it, I feel like they're missing out on stuff a lot because everything's about like social media. But I don't know, we'll have a chit chat and we'll debate it a little bit. We'll talk about it a little bit. So you're going to take the part for social media, and I'm going to take the against. But as the co-host, and I've also already done a lot of talking this evening and already on this show, I'll pass it over to you to kind of have your first little say on why you think the world is better with social media.
The first thing's got to be keeping in contact with people, mate. Even it's weird. If someone messages you or comments on Facebook, you're more inclined to reply than if they text you. I don't know why, because you feel like everyone's kind of involved in it.
Okay.
Also, business-wise, mate, best advertising tool the world's ever seen.
Yeah, I can accept that bit. I mean, the thing is,
that's probably the best thing about Facebook. Free advertising.
It's
but
one
it's
of those
also
things, isn't it, where there's a bit of everything to it, isn't there? Like you are right. Like in terms of keeping in contact with people, also like tracking down people maybe who like you've lost contact with from school and stuff like that. I do see that. But like
I spent a year in Ibiza in 2001. Obviously, I lost contact with so many people, mate. But the last few years, the amount of people I've made contact with again, it's a good thing.
But for me, so I grew up without social media, as probably all the people in the chat are looking at who's in.
We didn't even have mobile phones, mate.
Yeah, and I used to my summer holidays would consist of if we weren't doing something as a like a family day trip or whatever, or on holiday, I would just get up, I'd have breakfast, brush my teeth, and I'd be gone, and I might just go and play football or go up the park or whatever, and I wouldn't come back until it was dark. Like my parents would have to come and get me half time from the field because it was getting dark and stuff, and social media has just it's stopped a lot of things. I just feel like kids miss out on a lot because of social media, because TikTok in particular, for my youngest boy who's 13, the way it's you can almost see it killing their attention span, the way it's programmed and the algorithms of it, just 30 seconds to a minute of video, boom, 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 flicking, just flick to the next video. And sometimes me and my missus will go on Facebook and go on reels and stuff, and you'll just find yourself flicking through, just you're not interested in it. You're just flicking to the next one, and it's just
earlier on. I spent a minute watching some Japanese girl do a game simulator of how to drive a lorry. I watched someone playing a game of driving a fucking lorry.
But it's like this. It's just the way it's programmed and the way it is. It's just made in a way to keep your attention, but also kill your attention as well. So it's quick, short videos now, whereas a couple of years ago, it was more directed at longer videos or 20-minute videos. Now, the videos which get the most views are the YouTube shorts, in Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, TikToks. Like longer videos are less like the big YouTubers and the big content creators. They're focusing more, and certainly the newer content creators, which kind of come on the block, they're all focused on short form, like sketches and whatever they, whatever their thing is. It's all short form thing, and it's all about attention, because people's attention span is getting less and less. And I think COVID has contributed to that as well, because people spent more time on on their devices basically because they were at home.
Yeah. Do you also think though the world, since when we were kids, the world has changed a fucking lot, mate?
Of course,
But the pace of life, do you feel like the pace of life is like 10 times faster to when we were kids?
But I think part of that is technology, and also part of
Definitely.
that is just like, I'm sure if you asked our parents back when we were young, they'd have said that they felt the same, like everything was just quick,
Yeah,
quick, quick.
probably.
But it's just, I think technology makes you feel like everything's quicker, because you gotta remember, mate. I remember like having my first PlayStation 1, yeah, and like the feeling and being amazed by like everything about it, like the graphics. And I also remember having like these shitty different
Commodore and
consoles
Amstrad.
before. Yeah, well, I had like the computers
Where
like
you'd have like,
them.
remember the cassette games, and they take like 2-3 minutes to load up, and you'd have the
Yeah, I
noise.
had, and just before I got my first PlayStation 1, I had this thing called a CDI, and it was
Yeah,
basically like, I used to play like a golf game on it, and it was just like a CD gaming system or whatever. And I like, I'm sure if I look back on it, it was just shockingly bad. Like, but like, I remember like being enthralled by all those things, and like
yeah.
now you have a phone in your hand and it can just do everything. Like everything's at the
You can do
touch of a
more than
button.
all that.
And like, I
You
get
know,
it. I do get like why people think like, it's amazing and you can do this and you can do everything at the touch of a button, just in your hand. I get it. But like, I just think social media, like, it's killed going out and meeting people, like whether it's just going to meet people for a pint. Like pubs are dying, and I think social media has got had a bit of an impact on that. Obviously, like there's other things which come into play with that, but like meeting people who you don't already know, I think is being killed by social media as well. Like I remember like just like, because so for instance, when I was like 18, 19, like I just finish work, get off a train, and I just go straight in a Radar Arms, a couple of beers. There'd always be someone in there who I knew, because I used to work in there, so I knew people, like older than me as well, like my dad's friends, or just people who knew who I
yeah,
was. So like, I always knew there'd be someone to talk to and go and have a beer, or like because I didn't want to walk home basically because it was too far. And like,
yeah,
but like, that's how you meet people. Like I met my missus when the Radar Arms closed down. I met my wife because she worked in a tenant, and like I met her because I had to change my local pub, and I met
yeah.
her in a pub. Like these days, that wouldn't happen, because like I just think whenever I do go in a pub, they're very, very quiet, like on just quiet of locals. And I mean like local blokes who are like 18, or local people like 18, 19, 20, who just are having a beer in a pub or whatever. Like I very, very rarely see that around
Yeah.
me. And I just think social media has had a massive impact on how people meet each other, and things like Tinder and the rest of it. Like they all have contributed to that sort of that thing.
I got to argue against this scene. It's quite hard, mate.
I know.
Things like Tinder and that I can understand. Look how many relationships and loves have blossomed from it that wouldn't have.
Yeah, no, I
But
get it.
like, do you feel social media has taken away social interaction?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's damaged people's social interaction as well. I think the internet generally has damaged people's social interactions and social cues and things like that. And I think it's damaged people's emotional cues and reactions and stuff to the point where like I as much as I love, if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be doing this now, and if I didn't have Facebook, I wouldn't be doing shows and stuff like I did earlier. But like, I do get the hypocrisy behind it, but I'm looking at it as like a future. I just wonder what sort of state future generations are going to be in, like my kids. Like,
I was watching a video earlier. I totally forgot the guy's name. Dan something. He's an American.
yeah,
He like, a motivator type person, but not one of the norm. And he said he wants to develop a social media platform pretty much the same as Facebook, but you're only allowed to update once every 24 hours, whether it's a photo, a status, anything, once in 24 hours. And his philosophy behind it, thought, effort, love, emotion will go into that one post. Where when you can just, you've seen some of the shit I write on Facebook, mate. You know when you're just bored and you just need some form of interaction, but you don't want to get up and go do anything. So you just write random shit. Someone will always write back. Might not be who you want to talk to, and then you put your foot in it, and then you've got to talk to someone you don't want to talk to. Or ignore them like I do. Sorry, everyone.
It's like there's the thing, and then like does Facebook and Twitter and these play things, do they make for your now you don't keep, or people generally previously, these are thoughts that you would have just kept to yourself, just random shit that comes into your head. You look at some of the people who say horrendous shit, particularly young people who don't quite grasp that they're gonna regret it later in life. Like that's stuff that maybe everyone thought at some point in their life, and everyone's thought or said something horrific when they were younger, but like you didn't have social media. So like if I had camera phones and social media when I was younger, I probably would be unemployable, mate, because of the shit I got up to, like whether it was fighting or doing things I shouldn't have been doing. Like it's problematic, and I'm lucky that they just weren't they weren't invented now, and I feel sorry for my kids in some ways, because they've got to be so aware of like every little thing they say and do, and who you send a picture to, and what type of picture. Like it's just there's a whole set of problems that
I feel sorry for a lot of people in the public eye. I do feel sorry for a lot of people in the public eye with social media. They've got no life of their own. But all right, we've always had journalists and paparazzi, but now the average Joe walking down the street can just video anyone, anything they want. So it's a massive invasion of privacy. Massive.
But then think of this, right? I was messaging Rob Boyle earlier, who's in the chat, right? And I was telling him something, and I mentioned someone I'd spoken to about something, and I deleted the message, and I took the person who I mentioned out of it. Now, I trust Rob 100% that he wouldn't screenshot that. But just because of whatever, I was like, I'm going to take the name out of that, just because if someone hacks my Facebook messages or whatever, I don't want them to be able to see that. And it's just like, it's a whole set of problems which we don't need.
So careful, mate.
And I just think that ultimately, I think people's interactions and personalities, and I think long term is damaging. And I think that's my biggest argument.
None of us are the person we are on Facebook. Not one person on this earth.
No. And it's always like people trying to like, oh, my life's perfect, and you're trying to paint a picture, and it's like, how many times have you seen someone paint a picture about how great their life is on Facebook, and you're like, hang on a minute, I was speaking to you yesterday about you like fighting with your missus, or you're whatever it may be, and it's like
we all do it though. It's like when I put a prime example, when I go camping with the kids, mate, because I screwed back, it kills me setting up the tent. The kids do most of it, and they help and all this. And then we'll have a nice picture of all of us where we all look like the happiest family in the world, having the best camping trip ever. 5 minutes before, it's like an episode of The Simpsons. I'm going to be throttling him like he's bad. My girl will be going off like Greaser. The dog's sulking and crying and hiding under the car. It's all kicking off. And then 5 minutes after, you've got that perfect life.
Yeah. I use my Facebook slightly different to other people. Or certainly
you're more in the public eye as well than us, though, when you've got to be a bit more respectable than a normal person.
But like, so I obviously use Facebook for like podcast stuff and whatever, but I use my personal Facebook as a thing to vent. So I use my personal Facebook to basically just brill out like whatever's in my head. And sometimes people don't like it. People like, I've had people say like, "Oh, why are you being so negative?" or "Why are you talking about this all the time?" And it's like, it's my personal Facebook for one, so I'll say what I want. But also, it's because I use it as a tool to help my own mental health. So I made a decision like a few years ago that I wasn't going to let it kind of like take over my life, where I was going to be constantly posting stuff on Facebook and whatever. But what I would use it for is just, if I'm not feeling great, I'm going to just write why I'm not feeling great. And what I found is, in the long term with that, is it's good because you get like a memory, don't you, like a year later or whatever. Yeah. And it'll say blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, fucking hell, I still feel exactly the same way. So I've gone nowhere. But then other times I'll be like, oh,
you look at it and you think, what a twat I was.
Yeah, why did I put that on Facebook? But it's like, I don't know, mate. Look, I just think the world was a better place without social media. Ultimately, is what it comes down to. And I think, like I've said many times, if I didn't have a podcast, I would have deleted all my social medias by now. I don't like it. I don't like what people do.
Social media, I wouldn't have my kids, mate. So, if it wasn't for the ragger arms closing down for you, you wouldn't have had yours.
Yeah, but
it's these little things in life.
Yeah, it's those like little sliding doors moments, isn't it, which could go a different way. I just look at the way everything about, like, look, obviously we all know, like I've talked about, like there's trauma and there's stuff in my past and stuff that has caused issues, but like those things, that trauma and it's all part of growing up and it's part of life, like people dying and problems and addictions and whatever it may be. Like it's all part of life. But if I had social media, I'm not sure I would have made it. I really believe that. Like if I had social media, like the whole time I was growing up and like going through all those different things, I'm not sure I would have made it, because I think I would have isolated myself from the people who got me through. So like when my dad died, my mates, a couple of few close mates got me through. If I'd isolated from them and just stayed at home and stayed on my own and just been on TikTok or whatever, Facebook, I don't think I would have made it through, mate. And then, later life, when I was going out drinking and stuff, like the drinking caused me problems and I ended up fighting and blah, 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 and issues like that. But if I hadn't have done those things, I wouldn't have met my wife. And I just think, like, I am convinced that if I'd had social media and camera phones as a teenager, I'm not 100% sure I'd have made it through. I know, like, that sounds extreme to people, but I truly believe that. With
on the flip side of that, my father passed away when social media was booming and things 7 years ago. 7 years ago. If it wasn't for social media, I don't think I'd have got through that point. Because of the constant comforting messages and people. If it was just texting or ringing, I don't think they'd have made as much effort, mate. And I don't know why.
It's also easier to ignore. It's easier to ignore a phone call or a text than it is a Facebook comment for some reason. You are right about that part you said. Like, if someone texts you, if someone phones you, you don't answer, whatever. But like, if you're feeling down or you're grieving or whatever it may be, it is easier to kind of bin those things off. So I'm going to switch it to the people, and I would like Rob, Matt, Craig, whoever is in the chat, Gaz, I think I saw, like, tell us now, vote, as it were, would the world be better without social media? Yes or no? Yes, for it would be better without it. No, keep social media. That makes sense. So you're voting yes, the world is better. What did I say? I've got myself confused now.
Yes, the world is better without social media, or no, you want to keep social media, the world's better that way.
Yeah. So there we are. Vote or forever hold your peace. And then we're going to move on to V.A.R in a minute. Just while we wait for the votes to be collected and thinged. Tomorrow night. So
I am for it, but I think a toned down version.
Yeah, just like a more respectable. I don't know.
And we need mobile phones
like
that don't let you go on them when you're drunk and things.
Yeah, like just some sort of way to like manage it. Rob says no social media, no Ace Nation Army. So look at it like that. Craig
Can't
says,
really argue with that one, mate.
No, I know. Craig says better without. You can have a life without being driven by our phones and computers, and I think that is the big thing. Like I just feel like I've constantly got my phone in my hand, and like obviously because I'm doing this and like I'm just constantly like texting a guest or trying to sort of sponsor out, or it's just constant. I'm always on my phone in some way, and I just.
But if you weren't on the mobile like that, if we didn't have mobiles and social media, you'd have constantly been on the house phone and going round people's houses and email and letters and maybe not so much with social media because it's all instant with social media.
Yeah, I suppose it's like you'd have to do it anyway, wouldn't you? You just have to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
So maybe
would it take longer?
Yeah, snail mail. But then you'd have personal interactions with people, wouldn't you? Like you'd speak to people in person, in face, or on the phone, and I don't know. It's a tough one. I just, for me, social media is just, I just hate it. I gotta be honest, I just hate it. I would just, and I look at it as I think I hate it more because I look at it as a parent from teenage boys. And
but now we'd probably be lost without it, which is the ultimate.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like without social media, Craig makes a good point. Kids would be healthier, more sports, a world without conspiracy theories. Because they wouldn't be able to.
I love conspiracy theories. The child aspect of it, though, that's on the parents totally, mate. Like I'm very active with my kids, and I push them to not be on social media and things. So that's down to a parenting aspect of it. Social media is the problem with them, but that's on the parents, not on social media, in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with that because like my kids weren't allowed on Facebook until like my 13-year-old's still not allowed on it. Like
I'll be like that with mine.
Just right, there's no need for it, and I don't like the fact that strangers can contact them, and I always wonder like when I see like and look, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but like I always wonder when I see like a 13-year-old or someone is meeting like a strange guy or whatever, and I just like, how has that happened? Like I don't know. I've got like a thing on my kids like now where I don't really check their stuff as much as I probably should or as much as I used to. But that's more because I've kind of been quite open with them in the way I've discussed using it, and
you know your children and you know when to trust them and when to
them, and how to protect yourself. And a big part for me, because they're all boys, like a big part for me is they've like the older two have got long-term girlfriends, so the younger one's got a girlfriend now as well. My oldest boy, who's 17, has been with his girlfriend now for like 4 years, I think, or 3 years or something stupid, like ridiculous amount of time. But like I've always like keep saying to them, do not send your friends any picture that you're not happy for the whole world to see. And if someone like sends you a picture which is not appropriate, just delete it off your phone straight away and do not share it with anyone, because there's like all sorts of issues that you can run into without even realizing it as a kid. Like a girl sending like a topless photo or something. Like girl could be a girlfriend, could be someone trying to like be your girlfriend. And if you're like a 16-year-old boy, and you get caught with that on your phone, you can end up with like a child porn thing on your record for the rest of your life. And it could be completely, not your fault, but
doesn't matter.
Don't matter. Yeah, and it's a problem. So I've tried to be very open conversations about stuff like that and about how to deal with certain situations. And look, it comes to a point where you got to just trust them, because you can't do it for them, and you can't be just checking their shit all the time, because that's not healthy and that's not good for them, because they feel like you don't trust them. But if I wanted to, I could go and say, I want to have a look at your phone, or I want to look at this, or whatever. And they might kick up a bit of fuss, and I'd say, well, look, I pay for it, so you either give it to me or you lose it, if it comes to that. But it is what it is. When they first got phones, I wanted to have a spyware type thing on them, so I could just see everything they did. But it's not practical. It's not fair. It's not I don't know. Where do you stand on that? Kids having their own privacy with their phones and stuff.
At the moment, mine is still young, isn't they? So I haven't had to cross that bridge, because I don't think I'm ready for it, mate. I don't want them to have phones.
No, we held off as long as we could, phones and social media and stuff.
But I do want them to have phones so I can contact them if they're out or whatever it might be. But it's
mad, isn't it? We'd go out for all day, literally. Younger than what my 13-year-old is, would be out all day with no contact whatsoever. And these days, if my boys go out for more than an hour and I haven't heard something from them, I'll be phoning them where are you? What are you doing? And that's part of the, with the social media thing. One thing we didn't mention is the world has changed from when we were younger. Right.
And not for the better.
Yeah. No, it has not. Let's move on to the main event, people. V.A.R. So this is going to be a fascinating one. I feel like everyone's had a tit full of V.A.R. Reese is going to be arguing for keeping V.A.R. He's got the short straw, I think, there. And I'm going to...
No, I'm all for it, mate. I am all for it.
I'm going to be arguing for scrapping it. Although...
I am all for it.
I should caveat it with slightly that I think if it's going to work, I think they just need to do certain things to make it work that they're not doing at the moment. But you tell me why should V.A.R stay in football?
Because technology can be more precise than the human at the end of the day, mate. 100%. When that technology is mastered. Look at other sports, Hawkeye in tennis.
And cricket.
There is no way on this earth that some of them shots an umpire could clearly see where the ball lands.
Yeah.
Go to the Hawkeye, it's 100% right every time. Can't argue with science in some places, mate.
Yeah, cricket's the same. It's very well done.
Yeah, they got two different ones, haven't they, cricket?
But he's
like an umpire and something else.
There's a couple of different ones.
Cricket, so I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure they have two versions of it.
For whatever reason, mate, right?
Rugby league, rugby union, American football, they all utilise it. And the thing is, what you've got to remember, the elite levels that these athletes are participating in that, it's their careers, it's money, it's business. It's not just a sport anymore. A bad decision in even the championship, playoff place, a bad decision in that can cost a team a couple of $100 million for one bad decision.
Going better promoted.
The only thing I've got to say about it still relies on a human eye. And at the moment, it seems the people who are actually monitoring the V.A.R, I think they've got Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles in, mate, to be honest.
So my thing is with it is, for whatever reason, right, we've had V.A.R now for 3 years, and I think part of me, I agree with Craig there. He says VAR isn't the problem; it's the human beings behind it. But they've had the chance over the last few years to correct it, and they just, for whatever reason, VAR is not working in football the same way it's working in tennis, American football, rugby league, cricket, all the others. For whatever, maybe football is just not suited to video technology to a certain degree. I think the best thing that they could do now is to, at the end of this season, bin it off, keep goal line technology, because I think that works, and on the whole, it's fairly simple. You can use the kind of Hawkeye technology to see if the ball's gone over the line. Fine. I think you need that because we've seen over the years so many times like goals which were goals and weren't given, and it's cost people places and World Cups and whatever. But I think now it's been shown to just not be fit for purpose. Like, it's getting basic decisions wrong. It's complicating decisions that shouldn't be complicated. And
It's not the VAR that's doing that, mate. It's the human element.
But I go back, mate, to when, like, before VAR, like, we all used to, watch a game, and then if you had a bad refereeing decision, you'd like discuss it in a pub afterwards, and it was all, it was great. It was like, it was now we're just moaning about video technology, and it's just taking the fun out of football. And I just done with it.
It all comes down to money, mate. Money took the fun out of football.
Yeah, but like VAR is just like, it's just not fit for purpose. And I know, like Craig said there, like the goal line technology has failed, but that's down to like the actual technology having a glitch. If I believe I'm right there, Craig, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that's down to the technology glitching rather than it getting the decision wrong, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
VAR,
they
get decisions wrong first and foremost. So like, it's one thing if the technology breaks or the technology is like not good enough or it's not up to speed yet or whatever. But it's another thing that when you've got the technology is working, but then you get a decision and it's wrong. Like, that's an issue. And that's happened more than once.
It's also, though, they tweak the rules a bit too much now to football.
Yeah, they do change the rules every year.
Like the offside one, it was quite a simple fucking rule. But now they've tweaked it again. And it's not a simple rule anymore.
I don't understand why they don't just say, if you're offside, you're offside.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, decision-wise, if a referee gets 85% of his decisions correct, if you can bring in video technology and that ups it to 90% of the decisions correct, surely that's a better thing.
But people will accept, right? If you've got a referee and two linesmen on a Saturday or whatever, yeah, and then the referee gets something wrong, and then referees say they said, right, this is what they, at the end of the season, VAR's going, it doesn't work for football. We're going to keep goal line technology. What we're going to do is every week, after the game, the referee or one of the linesmen or the fourth official, someone will come out and do an interview after the game, like the players do, and they'll talk about how the game went, how they saw things. So if you've got like a referee and he should have been a penalty, he didn't give a penalty, but then he does an interview after the game. He says, I thought the game was good, blah, blah, blah. It's a bit disappointed with having looked at the decision I made. Probably should have been a penalty. I missed that. I've made it wrong. I think 99% of people will be like, well, okay, human error. Okay, let's talk about it. Or some people will say it's a penalty. Some people won't, blah, blah, blah. Whereas technology...
Okay, but on that flip side, how would that referee feel the next time he refs that team? Do you think he'd be more inclined to give them something if something was 50-50?
Well, he shouldn't if he's a professional.
He shouldn't, but you think he would. We're all human.
Yeah, but people are more likely to... People forgive human error. If a human is trying their best and they made a mistake, that's different to having a video technology which is saying this is going to be offside. Or like there was one the other day where the Juventus had like a goal
Yeah.
and they ruled out the goal for offside. And there's a defender stood like down in the corner who's playing them all onside. But because of the camera angle, the way they focused it in, they kind of cut off the player in the corner. And it's like, that's just like, how can that be? How can that
That's
in
human. That's
2022?
human error, mate, isn't it? That's human error.
But I don't think it is. That's technology, isn't it? That's the technology not being good enough. If you're looking at offside, you've got to look across the whole pitch.
Yeah,
So
but
if
the offside, I see what you're saying, because the image they showed
takes out part of the pitch, then you can't check it.
The image they showed was just the goal line, wasn't it? But if you're a world-class referee, you should know in your head you have to check the full size of the pitch. There was other camera angles, so that's down on the ref not checking it, mate. Because they released more footage that showed where the player was. That's down on the ref not checking it.
So without technology, right? Do you know what happens with that, right? Without technology, number one, the linesmen, because the linesmen have stopped putting their flags up for offsides, don't they? Now they just don't put them up, and they just leave it for the video technology. Number one, the linesman would have seen directly across. Oh look, there's a player playing him onside. When the goal went in, all the other team would have complained, "Oh, he was offside," and he would have gone, "No, there's a player there." Or the goal would have gone in. The ref would have then blown for offside after the goal had gone in, and then all the players would have gone, "Well, hang on, he's playing him onside," and then he would have gone, "Oh yeah, okay, goal."
I thought the linesmen were still putting their flags up, mate.
Well, I think they play it. They put it up like after if a player goes through. I think it's like after he's scored or whatever, or after he's got the ball. They do it really, really late.
Again, see, that's then tweaking the rules and things.
And do you know why I don't agree with that, mate? As well, is there was one when VAR first came in, and I think it was Rashford actually. Like the ball was come through to him, and he was like 1-on-1 from the halfway line. And the linesman put his flag up for offside, right? But Rashford kept going, and scored. The Arsenal, I think it was Arsenal, whoever they were playing, defence stopped because they saw the flag.
Yeah.
When they brought it back, when they looked at VAR, he was onside. So the linesman had got it wrong. They ruled it offside. So then, because Rashford carried on and scored, they gave the goal.
Did the referee blow his whistle?
I can't remember. I would have thought he didn't, because
if he didn't, the game of football, it doesn't matter if the linesman flag goes up. Until that referee blows a whistle, you keep playing.
Yeah, I just think
that's the law of the land, isn't it, in football?
Yeah,
unless that whistle blows, the play keeps going. So if the ref didn't do that,
play to the whistle.
You know that you've got to, haven't you? So no, I got to argue with that one there. That Rashford was spot on.
Yeah, and like people got to take advantage of that as well, and they're even if the ref blows the whistle, they're going to then go and score just in case, because if and then what happens if the ref,
I think if a ref blows his whistle though, that stops playing it.
Yeah, I think they changed. I think they reworded
like, I'm sure the rule in there would be if the ref blows, if nothing stands, end off.
But you'd always like if you were like a professional team now, you'd just be saying like no matter what happens, like if the ball comes across and they blow the whistle or everyone thinks you're offside, just put it in the net just in case, because if the technology
I don't know, because I'm sure it'd say if we looked in the rule book, if the whistle blows, that's the end
I think
of that
they
play
changed it around that time because basically like
they'd have to.
Yeah, people were taking advantage of it, but like it's look, it's interesting, and look that one I said about the Juventus thing is.
I think that was human error, mate. Again,
it is.
You know, if you're meant to be the ultimate top of your profession, you know, the best ref, you know, among the best referees in the world, and you don't think to check the whole pitch or the whole end of the pitch, that's on you.
But
they don't just look at one shot of it, do they? When they look at it in the room, when they look at VAR in the room, they don't just look at one angle, they'll look at multiple. So that's on them, mate. That's not on the VAR. The VAR clearly shows.
Got through everybody. Like, there should be several people who should pick it up. So whilst in one way, I agree with you, part of it is human error. But also, it's brought about because the technology's there. Like, if the technology isn't there and it's just down to the linesman and the referee, then that goal wouldn't have been a goal. So that's why, for me,
Your video's going a little bit funny, mate. You're not going in sync. You're talking.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yep, that came after you made the noise.
Right, is that better now?
That's it. Spot on.
Sweet. Yeah, I think what it comes down to for me is football was better before VAR and more enjoyable before VAR. So I would just like to take it back to when it was fun and when it was good and when it was enjoyable. And,
I can't argue with it. Football was more enjoyable then, but to be fair, VAR can make pretty much everything spot on, can't it?
But it's not, is it? It could, but
Not
it's
at the
not.
moment. Not at the moment.
How many years have we had it in this country now?
No,
3
no.
years? 3 years?
Who were the first ones to do it? Rugby league, wasn't it? In like 2005
Oh yeah, like rugby and stuff. It's been
or
going
something.
ages, but like in football, like it's been going now for at least 3 years in the in the Premier League and stuff like that. Like, it's been going long enough that it should be an asset. It should now be an asset to the game, and to me, is still a problem. So if it's still a problem after all that time, what are we doing? Like, how long are we going to give it? Are we going to be like talking about this in 15 years' time, or it'll come good eventually? Like, no, fuck that.
I think you're right. I think you will, mate. As 99% of technology goes, it does gradually improve most of it. I think the major problem with VAR is the human error, mate.
Has
Definitely.
VAR, though, right? You say that, mate. Has VAR improved from 3 years ago when it first came out in this country? Really? Don't think it has. Like,
I don't think so, to be honest, mate.
I don't think
But
that
I still
VAR
think
has
it's better for the
improved
game.
that much. I really don't think it's improved that much.
You've got to look at the other sports that it has improved. They're nailing the technology.
Yeah, but
Football,
they're doing it properly,
and they probably haven't even sent a ref on a course on how to fucking use the technology.
no,
They're just checking any old ref and go and have a look. Got to be able to use the technology as well.
Yeah,
no, I'm all for it, mate.
It's problematic, mate, and unfortunately, it hasn't improved over the last 3 years or so, and I just don't think. I think 3 years is a big enough test period to see.
Okay, over that 3 years, do you think VAR has got more decisions right or wrong?
Well, I would hope that it's got more right than it's got wrong. But
I would guess so. So when
mate,
you look at
though, mate, VAR shouldn't be getting anything wrong.
You're spot on there, mate. You're right, yeah. Like Hawkeye for tennis, goal line technology should not fail. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basic. Like, I don't understand it. Like,
offsides,
very rare.
When they put the line across the pitch, offsides, they should not fail.
No, but like, so like in cricket, if the technology isn't working, they take it offline during the game, and they'll tell the players, right, it's not available. It's very rare it happens, but they'll like take it offline, and they'll say, right, it's not available via Hawkeye or whatever is not available at this present moment in time. So what they do then is the players know, oh, we can't, they can't use it, or they can't ask for an appeal or whatever in that period, and then they'll tell them when it's back online. Unfortunately for football, there's been a couple of instances where the technology has failed, and it's been during a game or whatever. But like, I just think when VAR came in, right? So when VAR first came in, and you had one side of traditional people who were like, "Oh yeah, we don't want it, we don't need it," blah blah blah. I wasn't on that side. I did genuinely think it was time for technology, but those tradition, a lot of the people who were like against it, sort of said like, "Oh yeah, let's give it a chance. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work." And I just think 3 years in this country is long enough to decide whether it's worth it, and I don't think it's worth it now because it's not getting everything right. And I think 3 years is long enough to perfect it to get pretty much everything right. It's just, just the way I feel.
No, I gotta disagree. Like Hawkeye for tennis is it's a pretty simple technology, isn't it? It's different to VAR. The lines are there. You can computerize to it. Certain decisions in football, you can't create a computer program that can tell if it's a foul or not. So again, it'll come down to human judgment. But there is so many different fucking camera angles. Nothing can go missed on a football pitch, can it? Come on. It should be working. It's the human error of it, mate.
Should be.
That's the only reason it's not working.
But then that comes down to the people who are in charge of it, doesn't it? Like they've got to get the right people involved. They've got to get the right people in place to then have it. Like I think a big part of it, and I'm sure Rob said earlier, like with football, the referees should be mic'd up so that they're able to completely.
That is the one big thing. Like you look at rugby, tennis, any of them, you can hear the interaction between player and referee and the room where they're watching it. Football should be the same, mate. Make it open, let them hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like there's no doubt about it that if they're going to move forward with it, they have to, they have to mic up the refs. They have to do.
Totally agree there, mate.
Whether they will or they won't is another thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just don't. Yeah, I would like football just to go back to where it was when I enjoyed it. But there we go. That's just me, I suppose.
Which
miserable old man. Like, so guys in the chat, like, what do you think? Who do you think? Like Craig makes a good point. He said we still complain a lot about the decisions. Look at Cardiff, Chelsea. If VAR was in, Cardiff wouldn't have got relegated from the Premier League if there was VAR that season. Typically for Cardiff, it came out the season after, or it came to this country the season after, which is also so typical of Cardiff. But like that Chelsea player was so far offside that VAR would have picked it up. It wouldn't have been a goal and blah 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 blah. But like you can't.
That's only because it's a major decision time. How many times have Cardiff got away with the decision?
I know, like people will say, and like I've said it, like Cardiff didn't go down because of that one decision. They went down because they didn't get enough points over the season. But also, that decision kind of did cost them. Like they did go down because of it. Like I do accept that they went down, because of
the previous 37 games.
Yeah, but also, like if that decision had been right, they would have stayed up. So there's two sides to it. So what do people think in the chat? Do they want VAR to stay or VAR to go? Let us know. Very interested to see what people think. And guys who are watching this on the main channel and the week later, tell us what you think in the comments. VAR to go, VAR to stay, social media, stay, go. Is the world better without social media? Is VAR a problem, or is it the human beings behind it? Very interested in what people think. Let us know in the comments below. Please send as many subjects as you can. I'm building a list of subjects which we'll be debating every Monday. We'll be
the more controversial, the better.
Yeah, we'll be doing like the royal family, and we'll doing cyclists and all sorts of stuff. Thought it was a good one to start. We didn't want to start with the royal family on the day that the Queen's being buried, though. It felt like that was pushing
that's a
bit disrespectful.
We have our views, but we're not heartless.
Yeah. So we'll see what the people think, and we're going to bring in more and more debates, and I'm sure some of them will get more like heated as we go through the weeks and stuff. But it's tricky. It's tricky.
Tricky.
What does Craig say? Craig says V.A.R to stay, but it must be changed. Can't have one person deciding what they should look at. Teams should have challenges like cricket. Yeah, there's all sorts of things in it that you can take from like different sports, like where you can have a challenge, or but ultimately it
like
comes
American
down to
football, in American football they get 2 challenges per game. If they get both them challenges, if the coach is right, they do get 1 extra challenge. But if they're wrong on one of them, they don't get that extra one.
Yeah.
So there is things from other sports they can use, but they need to tweak it to suit the correct sport.
Got you. Yeah, I just think it's not being managed correctly, I think is the way to say it. Right, guys, tomorrow on the main channel, comedian Leroy Brito is the guest on My Story, and it's a good one. It's a good one. It's a belter, as they say. So please, give that a share and stuff. Really, really appreciate it if you do, as always looking to spread the word and all that good stuff. Myself and Reese will be back next Monday, and not sure, probably will end up doing something on Wednesday, even if it's like a little short thing. We'll definitely be doing something. And as I said before, if we get 5 extra members by the end of the week, I'll bring back like a championship show or a one-man football-y talk show on a Wednesday night or something. But only if get a couple of extra members. Gotta give these people some incentives to join us.
Tell your family. Tell everyone.
Yeah, get them involved. And as always, you got any ideas and stuff for content and shows and whatever, get them in. But as it's my channel and my show, I will rule. The V.A.R and social media got to go in the bin. Use my power, my authority to bin them all. That's what's just going to happen every week. We're going to spend like 50 minutes debating it, and then I'm going to go, right, yep, I win. Goodbye.
Fucking Room 101 it.